already I'd been in a school. This was in a little Welsh village, which was quite sleepy, but didn't understand dyslexia. I became a problem in the classroom, the class joke, the clown. And they made me sit at the back of the class. And they gave me a comic to read. And that's how I taught myself to read. There's comics. And I also suffer with Arlene syndrome, which means I cannot read anything on white paper or white screens. So I have brain damage from being abused as a child. I left school very disconcerted. Hated all forms of authority. Why did I hate authority? Because my whole man was an authoritarian. But mainly the school was as well. Didn't want to know. Didn't understand. Every time I said I couldn't read the board, didn't want to know. Now in them days, as you probably are all aware, dyslexia was not even considered in the education system as a problem. So I left school, and I then seemed to get in with the same local group of people who were very similar to myself, been excluded from school, didn't really have a very good education to talk about, if anything. So I hang around with these kids, and then I found myself in an outro. By the time I was 21, I'd been to prison 5 times. I'd done detention centre twice, I'd done Borstal, did youth custody, I did approved schools, and by the time I was 21, I'd had enough. And I look back now and understand that I was only trying to punish the people that were punishing me, and realise that the only person who really was being punished was me. So I seen it as a pointless exercise of getting in trouble. It wasn't getting me anywhere. So I left school disconcerted, completely off the rails. But then when I decided to get into the working programme, at 22 I went off to London to become a tree surgeon, as a trainee tree surgeon in London. I did what in college. It was too hard. Didn't want to try, because school was such a painful exercise. But I stuck it out. Was there 3 years, came back to Wales, and basically carried it on myself. Taught myself over the years to become a landscape gardener. Now, how I do that is I watch somebody do a job. I don't copy them. I don't read anything in books. I have no academic standard to talk about. But what happened at 36? I fell off a roof and I broke my spine. So they decided they'd retrain me. So off I went to this disabled college in Mansfield. There they recognised my dyslexia. They also recognised that I had word blindness, which I wasn't even aware of. You know what I mean? I just thought I was thick. As I've been told so many times over the years how thick and stupid I was. But they understood my way of thinking, and it opened my eyes. I was doing a CAD program. I don't know if you all know what CAD is, computer assisted design. I went there to actually just build computers, and I did that in the first 2 months. I have a mathematical brain, by the way. I taught myself to play music by changing all the notes to numbers. And I taught myself 15 carols within 2 weeks and went out busking with an accordion. Now, at this college, they pushed me, and I'm loud. Now, you tend to find with people that have learning difficulties, we're very loud people. Do you know why? Because it's the only way you lot live and listen to us. Right? Because I can't write to you. I can't speak on the phone because I can't see your face. Because to a visual person, people like me, I can look in your eyes to know what you're telling me. Now, do you know the biggest discrimination out there for people like me? You know what they call it? A CB. Right? Biggest discrimination going. And it puts kids like me off straight away, filling a CB in. Now, 5 years ago, I used to be able to get my kids on apprenticeships because we could get them on very basic English, level 1s, English, level 1 maths. Can't even do that anymore. It's now level 3. C, they must have a C at least to get them on apprenticeship. Or, as Sid told me, there are programs out there. It's called a traineeship. Have any of you heard of this? It's a complete load of crap. Because none of my kids want to go on it. Because it's classroom based, it's maths and English based. Because they've got to do maths and English. Now they just spent 15 years avoiding doing maths and English. Because it's not there. Now what we have to do as a society is recognise that the brain in this country works in 2 ways. Right? We have an academic brain, but we also have a visual brain. These are people that, if we went back 30 years ago, went straight into apprenticeships when they left school. And they were taught vision, hand-on. And some of the loveliest people I know, who are skilled beyond most of the people who even come into the trade today. These are self-taught tradesmen, things like that. But what we don't do as a society, we don't recognise these people. We don't recognise that they have a value. Right? People like me don't get hardly to ever talk to the kids that I work with because I'm not seen as having an academic background to talk to them. Oh, he can't because he hasn't been to university, he hasn't learned, he hasn't done anything to teach these kids. But I can tell you this, I have more success with my kids than any programme I know because I work on the process of guardianship. I guide them, right? And it's on an individual basis. I might have to teach one kid 20 times how to lay a slab. But once that child has got it, I promise you this, he will storm it. Right? I'm sick of being invited to weddings, having kids named after me. Right? Because they become friends. And I still speak to kids I worked with 30 years ago. Because it was so important to them. This is what I'm trying to get across to you. What we need as a society is guardians, people guiding these kids. We can't throw them out onto the society and then do nothing with them. Because that's the biggest problem here today. Do you know I've spent 7 years looking for funding? Guess how much I found? 0. Do you know why? Because I've got a criminal record. And I'm not a charity. Now, I'm off to be